Hey guys, I'm here bringing you my first video on this channel, and what it is my draft analysis video for the GPSL. And what the GPSL is, it's a Pokemon draft-based league based off of the GBA and the UCL, if you've ever heard of those types of things. If you definitely haven't, look into them on YouTube. It's a super interesting concept, and what essentially it is you have coaches. For instance, the GPSL, our league, has 7 coaches, and what they do is they go down the line in a snake order draft. So meaning the first round is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but then the second round is 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, going backwards. And what they do is they draft a Mon. So the first coach drafts his first Mon, then nobody else can draft that Mon. And what it creates is a roster of 12, and then each week, coach will go up against another coach in their roster of 12, building a team of 6 out of that roster of 12 to best match up against his opponent, whatever he wants to do, whatever his play style is. It adds a lot of variety to the game, and it's really fun. But what I'm here today to show you guys is to show you what I drafted and give you some reasons why. So let's start, I guess. Let's go. So as I said before, we have 7 coaches, and I was pick number 4, which means I am dead in the middle. I am 4th on the way down and 4th on the way back, meaning I have a lot of time in between my picks, and it's kind of a not too great position. So what I wanted for my first pick was actually Latios. And I wanted Latios because it added a lot of offensive pressure on my team with a lot of different special attacks and a huge move pool. But unfortunately, Latios gets taken 2nd overall. So I take the next best thing and pick up Latias. Now this is normal Latias, not Mega. Megas and normal Pokemon are separated, so meaning like somebody can draft Scizor and then somebody else could draft Mega Scizor. So technically, because I took Latias, somebody else could take Mega Latias. Nobody else did, but it's the principle that counts, right? So I took Latias. It's a really nice Pokemon to have on your team because it's pretty bulky. Base 80 HP is not too bad. Base 90 defense and base 130 special defense are incredible, however. And it can also retaliate pretty decently with 110 special attack and speed. And Latias, what's also really good about Latias is that it has a really good special move pool similar to Latios's. Dragon Stab, Psychic Stab, of course, but it also gets moves like Energy Ball and Earthquake and Ice Beam and Sucker Punch and Shadow Ball and Thunderbolt and Surf. It has all these different types of moves that I can use. But what I think I like more about Latios than I would have liked about Latios is that just the fact that it's naturally more defensive. Therefore, I can use it more in a supporting role where I could have things like Roost and Toxic and Thunder Wave and Tailwind and Magic Coat if it gets it. I think it does. It does. Run Magic Coat, run Healing Wish, and just a bunch of different things. But one of the big things about Latios is it's a defogger. It gets rid of hazards, and that's really nice to have on my team. In addition, Latios also has the Levitate ability, which prevents it from being hit by ground type moves. A lot of teams like to have a ground type because it's super effective on so many different things, and it's a direct stop to electric types, which are also really good in this format. So essentially, I'm really happy with picking up Latias. I think it's a good, solid overall pick. So now we go back down the line, and I know what I want for my second pick. I want Heatran. I know how to use Heatran. I'm very comfortable with it. I can run it defensively. I can run it offensively. That's a Pokemon that gives me access to Stealth Rocks. And it starts what could become a Fairy Dragon Steel Core, and could even start a Fire Water Grass Core, which are two very common cores used in this format. So I unfortunately don't get Heatran. It gets taken the pick before I go. So I still want to keep the idea of a Dragon Fairy Steel Core going. So I decided to take my Fairy because good fairies are far and few between, if that's how the saying is. I don't think it is, but something like that. There's not very many good fairy types in this format, and I feel like I took one of the best, and that was Clefable. Now, Clefable has two really good abilities in Magic Guard and Unaware. Magic Guard means it can only be hit by direct attacks, meaning it can't take damage from Toxic or Stealth Rocks, and Unaware means it's immune, or not immune, but it doesn't care about things like Swords Dance or Dragon Dance. You can Swords Dance all you want, you'll never hit my Clefable with additional damage. And Clefable makes a really good support Pokemon. It's super thick, it's got a lot of bulk, and it also has a pretty decent 95 base special attack, so it can also retaliate with some attacks decently. But Clefable gets a lot of really cool support moves like Wish and Heal Bell, which is nice. It gives me a Cleric. It gets access to Thunder Wave and Toxic, as well as Stealth Rock. I can set up rocks, and what's also really nice about Clefable is I don't have to rely on Wish for recovery. I have Soft Boil. That's Stealth Rock. This is Soft Boiled. It's really good Fairy Stab and Moonblast, and it gets access to a lot of interesting moves like Counter even and Knockoff. And overall, I think Clefable is just a really solid pick to have on your team because Fairy types are really important in this format because they just do a lot of different things. So it comes to my third pick, and I'm thinking I want my Steel type. Do I want my Steel type now? Do I want it later? Do I want to just finish this Fairy Dragon Steel Core I got going? And looking at the other coaches' teams, everybody already has a Steel type, and I'm willing to gamble that nobody wanted the Steel type that I had in mind. So I decide to pass on it for now, and I decide to pick up a really important Pokemon on this team, and it's my Mega Evolution. And I ended up taking Mega Lopunny. So what's really nice about Mega Lopunny is its normal fighting type stab is unresisted with the ability Scrappy, because normally the only thing that could stop a normal and fighting type Pokemon would be a ghost type, but Scrappy allows my normal type moves and my fighting type moves to actually hit ghost types. It's really good pressure with Fake Out as well. It gets access to a lot of different normal stabs, a lot of different fighting stabs, another Heal Beller and Healing Wisher if I needed it for that. I don't know if I ever will, but you never know. You get access to the Elemental Punches, and it can even be used in a decent support role with moves like Magic Coat and Thunder Wave. And overall, Lopunny is a wall breaker. Base 136 attack and 135 speed is ridiculous. A lot of teams struggle with dealing with Mega Lopunny, and that's a huge reason I took it, is because I didn't want to have to struggle with dealing with Mega Lopunny. So I'm happy I have it. I'm glad it's on my team. So now the fourth round rolls up, and I've looked at the other coaches' drafts, and I've noticed there's actually only me and one other coach who doesn't have all of their OU picks at this point. I don't know if I mentioned this, but we get 4 OU picks, 3 UU picks, 3 RU picks, and then 2 NU or PU or NFE picks. So I don't know. I decide that I'm still not going to get my last OU Mon because chances are that nobody is going to take what I need, and I'll give you guys a hint. It's a Steel type out of OU. And the other coach who didn't have his OU pick had already taken Excadrill and Jirachi. I doubt he wanted another Steel type, and if he did, I don't think he would have taken it out of OU. So I decided to drop down into UU and get my first UU Mon. And my first UU pick was Arcanine. Now, Arcanine is really unique in this format because it can be bulky or it could be offensive. It's unpredictable. It could have Intimidate, it could have Flash Fire, it could have Will-O-Wisp Morning Sun coverage, or it could have offensive moves, like a Choice Band even, with Flare Blitz and Extreme Speed, Close Combat, Crunch, Outrage, Wild Charge. It gets a lot of different stuff. And I'm very excited that Arcanine is on my team. Now, some people were questioning my Arcanine pick, asking why I didn't take any of the other good UU fire types, such as Rotom Heat, and Entei, and Darmanitan. And the reason I didn't take them is because they're one-trick ponies. Darmanitan always is going to be Choice Scarfed or offensive in some way, and Entei is usually going to be that way as well. Rotom can be defensive as well, but I felt like I needed a better physical attacker in addition to Lopunny, because I already had the Latios as a really solid special attacker. And Arcanine could even be mixed if it wanted to be. It has a pretty decent special attack stat of 100, I think? Yeah, 100. So overall, that's why I took Arcanine round 2. And then round 3 rolls up, or did I say round 2? Whoa. Sorry guys, it's 11:30 at night, and this is my probably like 7th time trying to record this. So, sorry. So the 5th round comes around, and there's something I want out of this draft, and that is a bulky water type. It'll be the start of my Fire Water Grass Core with Arcanine and then this mod. But I'm starting to think there's a lot of UU bulky water types I could get. I could get Blastoise, I could get Cloyster, I could get Tentacruel, or Swampert, or Suicune, or Feraligatr, or Gyarados. But what I ultimately decided on getting was my Milotic. And the reason, I wouldn't say the reason, but probably the biggest attraction I have to my Milotic would be competitive. With Defog and Intimidate being such a prominent thing in this league, having something that can retaliate against those things is really nice to have. You use Defog to get rid of my hazards? Well, too bad, my Milotic was in. You just lowered my evasion, thusly raising my special attack. I'm going to sweep you. The only thing that really is the downside about my Milotic is it has a poor move pool. I'm really kind of relying on Water Stab, Ice Beam, Hidden Power in terms of offensive moves. I mean, I could use Dragon Pulse, but there's no point to Dragon Pulse if I can just run Ice Beam unless it was a weird type combination like a Mega Charizard X or something. Which, by the way, did get drafted, so maybe that'll be the one time I use Dragon Pulse and bite my tongue. But nonetheless, there's not much that Milotic can do in terms of unpredictability. It's usually going to be running Ice Beam, Water Stab, Recover, Toxic. Maybe this week I have Mirror Coat, maybe this week I have Haze, maybe this week I have Rest Talk. I don't know, I'm just throwing ideas out there. But Milotic is kind of a one-trick pony, which is unfortunate, but it makes a good wall. And that's what I really wanted out of this draft, was a bunch of Pokemons that could be... Did I just say Pokemons? Jesus. A bunch of Mons that could be walls, but could also be offensively pressuring. They could do defensive things, they can do offensive things. It all depends on the situation I was in. That was priority number 1 when drafting my team. Priority number 2, as few Stealth Rock weaknesses as possible. And Arcanine actually ends up being my only Stealth Rock weakness, which is nice to have. And priority number 3 was no quad weaknesses. I also accomplished that because quad weaknesses, I don't want to ever have to worry about quad weaknesses, simply because everything gets hidden power. If I had a Scizor on my team, I'd be worried about every special attacker having hidden power fire. So that's something I don't want to ever have to deal with, because I can live a hidden power grass with my Milotic. I can probably live 1, but if my Milotic were, say, like a water ground type, and then I would never live a hidden power grass, depending on how you EV them. So that's why I tried to stick to singular types, or types that don't have too many weaknesses or dual typings that have a quad weakness. So this is round 6. This is the 6th mon I drafted, and I took something else out of UU. It was actually kind of ironic because this ended up being a retaliation snipe for Latios. Because the person who took Latios from me wanted this. I didn't know that they wanted it, because I also wanted it, but what I ended up taking was Crocodile. Crocodile kind of has the same thing. I took Crocodile for the same reasons I took Arcanine. It could be defensive with Intimidate, it could be offensive with Moxie. It has a really good move pool, a lot of different things it can do, and it has a lot of good support moves. Overall, Crocodile is just a mon that can do everything decently well. I would rather have a mon that can do everything decently well than one thing really well. And that's really nice to have because it's unpredictable. The whole strategy with this team is wear down Pokemon so that Mega Lopunny can sweep. That'll be a strategy one week, I can guarantee it. But maybe one week it'll be Scarf Crocodile, Scarf Moxie Crocodile set up to sweep. You never know. That's what's so much fun about this league. So, moving on, we get down into the RU picks because at this point, the last coach, who didn't have an OU pick, took Superior, which is not what I wanted. So I know that I can get my OU pick at the end of the draft and not have to worry about anybody ever taking it. So what I decided to do was take advantage of that and get top priority for the mons that I wanted out of the lower tiers. So I think I might have been the first person to take an RU Pokemon, and this was probably the most important Pokemon I took. And the best part about it was I don't think anybody realized just how important it was. I took Cofagrigus, however you want to pronounce it. And the main reason I took Cofagrigus was because I don't want to face a Cofagrigus. Cofagrigus is a hard brick wall stop to Mega Lopunny. Because base 145 defense and base 58 HP, which isn't great, but it's not even decent. It's not great. But base 145 defense can live a hit from Mega Lopunny. And anytime something touches Cofagrigus, its ability Mummy activates, which will turn the opponent's ability into Mummy. Which means no more Scrappy, which means no more hitting Ghost types. This thing is a hard Mega Lopunny stop, and the whole reason I took it is so that nobody else would have it to use against my Mega Lopunny. But it's also nice to have for other things as well. It's not that the only reason I didn't take it was as a metaphorical middle finger to the other coaches. I also took it because it could do a lot of different things. It has access to Knockoff, it has access to Will-O-Wisp, it has access to Toxic Spikes, Pain Split for recovery, Knockoff for utility, and it's got a pretty decent special move pool, getting Grass coverage, Psychic coverage down here with Psychic, and Ghost coverage, and then Hidden Power whatever the hell I want. It can use Haze to stop setup sweepers. It can set up on its own and set up some Calm Minds, or I can be that guy and run like Disable and Destiny Bomb. You never know with Cofagrigus, and that's why I'm glad it's on our team. Excuse me. So, continuing with the draft, I took another RU Mon for round 8, this would be, and I took Ambipom. Now, I don't know how much I'm regretting this pick, mostly just because there wasn't much else in RU that really piqued my interest in terms of what I was looking for. And I was looking for something fast that can do a lot of different things. There's a lot of fast mons in RU, but Ambipom hits base 115 speed, which I'm looking right now, ties with Sneasel for the third fastest thing in the tier, other than fourth fastest thing in the tier. Fifth fastest thing. Okay. It's pretty fast. I didn't realize how fast like Aerodactyl was. So good. It's pretty fast. And it has things like Technician, Boost, and Fake Out, access to the elemental punches, U-turn, Shadow Claw, Grass coverage, I didn't even know it had Seed Ball, access to knockoff. It's a really good offensive mod that I can say where I can bring if I don't have enough things that can take care of all of these things. So I'm just gonna put a bunch of different moves on Ambipom, and then it can handle some things better. Either A, kill him, or B, get him close to being dead to the point where something else can retaliate and kill him instead of Ambipom. That's ultimately why I went with Ambipom. It has Technician, which is its only really good ability. Pick up his trash, and I could use Skilling with like, I think he gets like double hit down here, or double slap, same thing. But Return is stronger than that anyways. There would be no real reason to use Skill Link that I can see, but you never know. So chances are most of the time I will have Technician. But either way, it's really nice to have on my team. So, as I had said, there wasn't really anything in RU that had piqued my interest, so I decided to hold off on my last RU pick and wait until there was something, like a glaring hole in my team that I really needed to patch up. So I decided to dip down into NU and get another Fairy Stalker. I guess I shouldn't say another Fairy Stalker. My first Fairy Stalker, because Arcanine isn't really a dedicated Fairy Stalker. I got Muck. And one of the main reasons I got Muck is because Weezing was already gone. But I didn't expect to get that anyways. But I think a lot of people sleep on Muck. I don't think people see Muck as a threat. But in actuality, he gets some pretty good stuff. He gets Fighting Stab, super effective fighting moves, fire moves, Stab Poison moves, Ice Punch, Thunder Punch, Shadow Sneak for priority, Rock Slide, and it can also do some pretty decent utility stuff like Toxic, Pain Split, Memento, Taunt, Haze, Explode, Disable. And it's a really good thing to have on my team, I think, because base 105 special, or 100 attack, 105 HP, 105 special defense is pretty good for an NU Pokemon. Say, like, I'm going up against the Sylveon in 1 week, slap an Assault Vest on this thing, and it's a Sylveon stopper besides Psyshock. Okay, maybe it's not a good Sylveon stopper, but my point is that it's a good poison type to have on my team, and I'm glad I have it. So at this point, remember how I mentioned I was going to wait for my second RU pick until I noticed the glaring hole in my team? Well, I noticed the glaring hole in my team. I was missing two of the most important stabs, in my personal opinion, to have on your roster. So I decided to get them both with one Mon. I was missing Grass and Electric Stab. So I took Rotom. It's another thing that can handle ground types, because even if you're going to switch in your ground type on my Rotom, well, guess what? I have a Stab Grass type move now. But Rotom is perfect for my playstyle, bulky offense. It could be a wall, it could be a special attacker. I could Scarf it, I could Specs it, I could give it triple status with Will-O-Wisp and Toxic and Thunderbolt. It gets access to priority with Sucker Punch. Overall, the Rotoms are really good to have, and I'm happy I got Mo, because it's also Grass Stab. And Heat and Wash were already gone. I didn't want any of them either way. I don't think anybody took normal Rotom or Fridge Rotom or Fan Rotom, so I'm glad I got Mo. Just because, again, it's unpredictable. You never know what it's going to do. So we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. It's the 11th round. I need my other NU pick and then that OU pick that I was saving for the end. So this is honestly, I think, the only pick that I had that I kind of regret in hindsight. But also looking back on it, I don't know what else I would have taken. I ended up taking Regirock because not only did it just get its hidden ability Sturdy released, it's also a pretty good utility mod. It can do things like Thunder Wave and Toxic and set up rocks. But it could also use like Drain Punch, Earthquake, and Rock Stab, as well as Elemental Punches. And base 100 attack is nothing to laugh at, particularly. and especially not that base 200 defense. But I think the whole reason Regirock is in the NU tier is because of its rock typing. Rock type is not a very good typing. But at the end of the day, I need a rock type because of Pokemon like Charizard and Talonflame. I need something to stand up to them. So I'm glad I got Regirock, but at the same time, there could have been something else I might have grabbed, but I don't know what it would be. So the moment of truth has come. It's round 12, and I still need my last OU pick, and I still never got that Steel type to complete the Fairy Dragon Steel Core. And what I ultimately went with was Skarmory. Skarmory because it's actually my second form of hazard removal, it being with Latios being my only forms of hazard removal, which is something I might look into patching with free agency or trades. But Skarmory can do a lot of things. It's mostly used as a physical wall, as you can see from its stats, but it can set up rocks and spikes, has access to instant recovery with Roost, can Brave Bird, can Whirlwind things out, is one of the very few mons that actually get Whirlwind and Whirl. So I get to choose which way I force mons out. Another downside to Skarmory, though, is it doesn't have very much in terms of physical offensive pressure. It gets really good Steel Stab and really good Flying Stab with Brave Bird and Iron Head. But other than that, it doesn't really get much other type coverage besides Dark, Rock, and Bug. And I don't know how much use all of those things are going to be. But either way, Skarmory is generally going to be a wall. But again, it could be offensive if I needed to be. What's nice about Skarmory, though, is that Latios actually covers both of Skarmory's weaknesses really well, Fire and Electric, because most Fire moves and Electric moves are special, and since Latios is a dedicated special wall, it shuts those down. Of course, this core is going to struggle with Flare Blitz and Wild Charge, but that's okay, because I'll be able to prepare for that, because I know my opponent's team. And overall, I think this is a really good team. I think it's really solid. There isn't very many glaring holes that I can see, at least. And I'm really happy, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't know whether or not I will be recording the battles, how I'll be recording the battles, if I am, or if I'm doing like team analysis video, or week analysis videos, or anything like that. But be on the lookout for them, just in case they are happening. And I hope you guys are looking forward to enjoying the other content from the GPSL. I will link 2 more of the coaches who also have YouTube channels down in the description if you guys want to check that out. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching.